Start looking now, start preparing ideas. I'm not saying that you should leave university and know what your career should be. In fact, I'm not an advocate of that. We spend a lot of time in the workplace, so getting it right from day one is not high on my list of things to do. But starting to speak to somebody who you can approach, whether that be from a mentor point of view. So, for instance, if I was a student and I wanted to move into a particular field of expertise, whatever it happens to be, engineering, cookery, I'd try and identify somebody locally within there and try and reach out to them. Don't be afraid to reach out. In this final year, it's just kind of, reach out to places outside your social group, outside your university, outside, your family and friends sometimes. Reach out to somebody. It can be a complete stranger. Don't be afraid to. And just ask questions, find out, look at what's out there. Start your networking if you can. I'm big on networking. Start it if you can. Look, well, you might ask a question and look a complete idiot. Well, look, I can't begin to count how many times I've looked an idiot in my working life. Probably one of them right now. But I don't care. Because if you don't ask the questions, you're not going to get the answers. Without any kind of trying to plug, if a student or a grad watching this reached out to me with a question, I'd answer it. So take that as an invite. I've got no problem with that. And I think that most people would be the same as well. If somebody says no to you, that's okay. Move on to the next person. Don't be put off. Because there are people out there that are willing to help and willing to listen and willing to advise. But remember, advice is just that. All you're doing is fact-finding and taking in information. I read something yesterday that the head of the CBI, John Allen, I think his name is, saying that there's a disconnect between how we're preparing grads for life outside work and what employers are experiencing when grads are sat in front of them. And I think that's a real thing, great thing to understand. However, the same organisation said the same in 2011 and 2014. So are we learning anything, or are we just highlighting the problem? Yeah. I think sometimes we fill heads with outcomes. You get this qualification, you'll become this. And it isn't as easy as that.
Whose responsibility do you think it is?
I think people need to be self-sufficient to a degree in going and finding out that information. But unless you kind of tell people they need to do that, they might not. It's easy to think when you've come out of education, if you think we start education at 5 and we come out when we're 22, 23, 17, 18 years of being spoon-fed what it takes to be successful and what it takes to pass an exam or do this, and yet we come out and students and grads don't know how to put a CV together. We're failing somewhere. And I think we need to just take it away from an academic conversation and to a real world conversation as to useful tips and advice. And I think there are skills that how to network, how to resource, what's the job market all about? How do I prepare myself for the job market? How do I approach an interview? How do I put a CV together? What do I do in this situation? And introduce people to people outside an education system. That's not saying that the education system is bad in any way, but I'm saying that, sometimes the skills outside work, the simple skills that we wouldn't think of, just putting together a CV, a covering letter, something as simple as that. What are employers looking for? Somebody that can give them those tips and tools and things like that. This is where you guys come in really useful, because you're giving real time practical advice and tools to grads for simple questions, but they're not simple if you don't know what the answer is. You know, if I don't know how to deal with a tenancy agreement, or if I don't know how to deal with where do I get my, where do I kind of get council tax, or then I need somewhere to turn to, and that's what you're doing, which is brilliant. You're giving that real-time advice that's useful, and that's probably come out of you living that and experiencing that for yourselves.
Yeah.
You know, you've been there, and when you've got big questions like, what should I do when I leave university? What should I do with the rest of my life? Those can be really challenging, and I think that it's down to the rest of us to help people with that. I think be true to yourself is probably the best advice I was given. Do what makes you happy, and I think if you're doing that, you can't go too far wrong. If you're trying to please parents, or you're trying to please a loved one, or you're trying to please this, and that's your only focus, and you're not happy in doing that, then you're not going to find that inner resolve or that inner peace that you need. So I think do what makes you happy, do what you're comfortable with, don't do anything you don't want to do, don't be afraid to say no.